All right. Välkomna tillbaka till Carnegies Healthcare-seminar. Nu har vi besök från Norge och det är Lifecare och vd Joacim Holter som ska presentera. And the presentation will be in English, I guess.
It will, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Go ahead, the scene is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this presentation. Thank you for participating. I think it's obviously best to take this in English. My name is Joacim, and I'm the CEO of Lifecare. We are a Norwegian medtech company, more specifically a Norwegian sensor company. Our purpose in life is to develop the smallest continuous glucose monitoring system for patients with diabetes. We do that based on our proprietary sensor technology, where we use the osmotic pressure as the sensor principle. We're the only ones doing that, and we also, of course, we have patented that. The reason why we are doing this in the diabetes area is, first of all, it's the company DNA. We were founded by people who wanted to help patients with diabetes. The other thing is obviously the financial aspect of this. Diabetes is defined as a pandemic, at least from the International Diabetes Association or Federation, I think they're called. It's a global crisis which is uncontrolled, with more than 500 million people worldwide affected. Of those 500 million plus, approximately half of them are aware of the fact that they have diabetes, and then again 1/3 of these are in need of or should continuously monitor their glucose. Hence, we have a population of approximately 90 million patients that is in need of for continuous glucose monitors. The situation as it is today is that the standard treatment, as it has been since the late 60s for patients with diabetes, is to do blood glucose meter measurements, where you then prick your finger, take a drop of blood, and put it into a meter to get the result, which is a good on-demand solution, and it's the one frequently used worldwide. However, from the start of the 2000 in 1999, the first FDA-approved continuous glucose monitor came on the market. That shifts the patient understanding or the patient's handling of the diagnosis, because we're able to go from spot readings and into a trend reading, so that the patients are able to capture the daily activities in the glucose level, which is important, of course, for how to treat the disease, whether it is with insulin, whether it is through other activities such as physical activities, food, rest, or a combination, which often is common. And the state-of-the-art treatment, just to connect this to the numbers that I just mentioned. As of today, approximately 9 million users worldwide have access to continuous glucose monitors, meaning that we have a overhead of approximately 80 million patients worldwide that still don't have access to continuous glucose monitors. We are working in a field where glucose oxidase is the absolute primary sensor technology used for continuous glucose monitoring. This is what Abbott, Dexcom, Medtronic, and 99% of the CGM market apply as sensor principle. It's a tremendous journey in the disease handling to go from blood monitoring and to a device attached to the body, which can give you continuous glucose data. It's a fantastic development. However, we feel it's time to do this even better. And we are, together with the company Eversense or Senseonics, we are the only ones who are doing this in an implantable way. We are doing this with the osmotic pressure, and we are aiming to have both a longevity in line with Senseonics and also an annual cost which is significantly lower. We are currently in the clinical stage. We have been in humans, and we have moved from the clinical stage and into the actual product development stage. What we offer to the community is a sensor at the size of a grain that we inject under the skin with a minimum of 6 months longevity. We do believe that the longevity will be way longer than 6 months, but our opening statement is 6 months. and there is no need for calibration with our technology. The studies that we have executed in humans were finalized in 2023 with the purpose to collect both proof of concept data, and also to use this data to start the algorithm development for the ongoing readout. And the conclusion in our study was that we were able to track subcutaneous glucose in a manner that is compatible with the devices from Abbott and from Dexcom. Just peeking into the clinical accuracy, we have taken our data points and put them into this consensus error grid, where the goal is to have the data points within the zone A and B, which means that they would be regulatory accepted. I need, of course, to emphasize that we, in this study, had 261 data points. Hence, we're far from regulatory approval. But we are definitely within the scope where we can form solid conclusions, because as we see, all of our data points are within the regulatory accepted zones A and B. In addition to this, we also have done, of course, a calculation of what in the industry is referred to as the MARD, the mean absolute relative difference between capillary blood glucose measurements and ongoing subcutaneous glucose monitoring. The key here is to be within 10% deviation from the capillary blood, which would also then be regulatory accepted. And what we saw when we did our MARD calculations after this study with 261 data points was that we achieved a MARD of 9.7, meaning that our first in-human study, our first clinical study, was also, in terms of the mean absolute relative difference, within the scope that would be expected from the regulatory authorities. Proceeding after this, we have done a biocompatibility study. We have this still ongoing, so we're doing a study in dogs at the Norwegian University for Life Sciences, the veterinary college there, where we have put sensors in dogs and documented a 12-week longevity in live tissue. And the important thing here is, of course, that we have done bacteriological examinations and biopsies that confirmed in our first results that we had no unexpected foreign body responses from the implant in the body. This also takes us a bit further, and I want to emphasize our journey, our mission is to help patients, people with diabetes, to live an easier life. As you all know, this is, of course, something that is quite highly affected by regulatory rules. And it'll take, from the point where we have our product finished, it will take some time to gain the CE mark we need to go into the human market. However, when we are starting to chase our CE mark, we will have our operations ongoing. We will have our production up and running. And in this phase, we see potential to also go into the veterinary market on the side to gain profits from the fact that also dogs and cats actually are affected by diabetes. It's not necessarily common knowledge that only in Europe more than 1 million dogs are diagnosed with diabetes every year. We are not going to make a huge revolution in this market, but we are going to take advantage of the fact that we have a product that is pending regulatory approval in terms of a CE mark, but can be introduced to the veterinary market because there are no, or at least very few, regulatory hurdles to do that. In terms of product development, we have a product development agreement with Sanofi, where we are gaining some profits, not too much. However, the most important thing for us is that Sanofi has a first right of refusal, and that first right of refusal is expected to be looked into this year. It's pending finalization of our ongoing longevity study. In terms of progress, I want to say that as a medical technology company, we can state that we have done all of our science. So our scientific background is solid. Our technology is functional. We have proven that through loads of in vitro testing, preclinical testing, and also clinical testing. So starting 2023, we enhanced our focus on the production preparations and started to hire production personnel and engineers, because we have taken the company from the scientific level and into the engineering level. As of now, we are at the stage where I'm happy to show that we have an implant that is very much a finalized product. It's obviously room to miniaturize this significantly. The reason for the size as of now is basically the electronics. Our technology is at the grain of rice, and we will of course work to get our first product into the market and then continue our journey on the miniaturization. The topics we are facing at this phase is the nitty-gritty details of the surface being maybe a nanometer uneven, which we have to adjust. So we are in the phase where we are taking our product. It's been produced by our partners in the UK in a pilot production, and then we are adjusting the small pieces so that we are ready to actually execute on our primary target, which would be, first of all, a clinical study that we aim to start this year. This clinical study will first be a quite short and small cohort, so that we get the proof of concept with our vial as readout from the product that we have today. And the next will be to go into the actual regulatory studies, which first will have a 3-month duration before we prolong it to 6 months, and then probably also prolong it to 9 and 12 months to gain data, building a technical file so that we are able to put this in the human market. And on the go here, we will definitely put the product in the veterinary market this year, starting in Scandinavia, probably starting in Norway, expand to Scandinavia, and then chase a partner for the global market within the veterinary business, in parallel with chasing the same in the human market. We have already done our pilot automated production, and 1st of July we are taking over a 1,000 square meter production facility in Mainz, Germany, where we have our production team set up. Organizational wise, the company is, as mentioned, we are Norwegian. We are listed on Oslo Stock Exchange. We have a few subsidiaries doing our development work and our production work in Germany. We are developing our chemistry on an ongoing basis at our facility in Bristol, and we also have a veterinary business in the organization. In addition, we also acquired a company called RemoveAid, which are specialized in medical equipment for the removal of subdermal implants, so that we also have a technology to solve that when we want to remove the implant from the humans. In total, we are 33 full-time equivalents today. Most of them are scientific workers on a high level. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, can you provide any guidance on when you expect a CE mark in Europe for the product?
I think that our guidance in that respect is that if all goes as planned, with a bit of luck, we will be able to be close to the CE mark end of 2026. And I think the uptake of that statement is that the first half of 2027 is the realistic timing of that.
Right, perfect. And how many CGM systems are in the market today, and what would you say is the USP with Sencell compared to these systems?
I don't have the exact number, but I can say that 99% of the CGM market is represented by Abbott, Dexcom, and Medtronic. I mentioned Eversense, just to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
They are a runner-up in this. They have an implant that is approved for 1 year, which is a fantastic forerunner for us. They are grasping like 5,000 patients globally. In addition, we have a lot of Asian players coming. They are all based on the same technology as Abbott Dexcom Medtronic. The problem with the glucose oxidate technology is that it has a limit, it has a time limit, where it's not possible to push it very much beyond 15 days. That's one of our USPs, obviously, that we're able to have a longevity that is more than 6 months, probably a year or longer. Our second USP is the fact that it's implanted, so it's not visible for the for your co-fellows. And in addition, we have a quite clear expectation that I cannot document, but we have a clear expectation that our sensitivity will be favorable compared to our components.
All right. And what would you say in general are the most important USP for a CGM system? What are you competing on, so to say? Is it convenience? Is it the sensitivity? Or what is the most important?
Both, I think. The sensitivity is, of course, important because even though we are within kind of a 10% point reach from blood capillary measurements, I mean, to reduce the deviation from blood capillary measurements will enhance the patient understanding of its own disease and also to handle the disease on an ongoing basis. So sensitivity is always important. However, I believe that the fact that we are implantable and for such a long time, I think that a lot of patients will embrace the opportunity to not go with a CGM on the upper arm and show the world that they have diabetes.
Right. Makes sense. And can you just elaborate a little bit on your agreement with Sanofi and when this could, you mentioned first right of refusal. What does this actually mean, and when could we expect that it could turn into a commercial deal?
Well, touching in on a communication-wise difficult field for me because it's of course governed by an NDA. So what I can say is that it is a stepwise agreement where we are doing phases that are predetermined in agreement with Sanofi, and we are reporting in and having an ongoing contact with them related to our phases. We are closing. We are now closer to the end of a material phase, and which will lead into the discussions around a first right of refusal, meaning that they will have the first seat at the table. However, we have no indications in either direction whether or not they will follow up on this. So that's, of course, important for me to emphasize that it's still work to be done there to conclude that we're going into a commercial phase.
Right. And we touched on the European market, but the US market, obviously it's a bit longer time until you will launch here probably, but what is your go-to-market strategy here from a regulatory perspective? Is it a 510K or what do you think you will... what market road do you take?
We are looking for a 510K. We have already identified a potential clinic to do the necessary testing in the US or the necessary study. However, we have a clear philosophy that is to embrace focus. We are focusing on diabetes. We are focusing on Europe, and I say that because our technology is also applicable for other biomarkers than glucose. We are able to measure other things than glucose. We are not actively chasing this because we have to focus on our core business and get that into the market, and then we will start, of course, to spread our focus and follow up on other opportunities. And the same goes for the geographic approach. We are looking into Europe. We are starting in Europe, and then we have a plan that is not detailed in terms of execution for the US. We will, of course, go to the US at some point of time, but we have more than enough to handle in Europe first.
Right, perfect. And your expectations on the pet market launch, is it more of a sort of way to learn how to, or like gather data for the human setting, or how should you view it?
I think you should review it in at least three different approaches. First of all, yes, learning, doing a minimum viable product and get customer feedbacks. Also raise awareness, show to the veterinary market that we have a product that will also affect the human market. And second and third, of course, we are chasing the revenues there.
Great. All right, we're running out of time. Thank you very much, Joacim.
Thank you.